1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Smile, that's it.
Shirley Temple Black handed us the rights to her life, which she has not done her whole life for anyone. She's very protective, of course, of her history and her past, and she trusted us enough to give it to us and let us show her life in a positive light.
The pressure in having to recreate a living legend on screen was enormous. I was always aware that Shirley Temple Black was going to be the first person who saw this movie, and I wanted so much her approval.
I'm the big Shirley fan. I've always been a Shirley fan, and that started off the whole project, kind of saying to my mother, let's make Shirley's life, I want to make Shirley's life story. And then, of course, my mother, being the businesswoman, approached Shirley. We wrote her a letter and said, we'd love to do your story. She invited us to her house. My mother and I, and actually some of my siblings, went to Shirley's house and met her and her husband, and we discussed it with her, and she basically said, okay, you can do my story.
We actually had a wonderful writer, Joe Wiesenfeld, who came in knowing that he was going to have to turn around the script in a very short amount of time. I know he had some wonderful conversations directly with Shirley about her book and about specific things that happened in her life. Paula Hart had a lot of conversations and interface with Shirley a great deal throughout the development process.
Shirley was very involved in the project. Shirley sees every draft of the script, gives us notes which we address, and was part of the casting of the role of Shirley, Gertrude, and George. That was all part of the agreement that I had with her, that I would include her in every step of the way. We searched the United States. We traveled to many different cities to cast this role of Shirley Temple. We saw over 400 little girls who tap danced their hearts out. We held sessions in LA, in Chicago, in New York, and in Orlando, Florida. And we saw every little girl from all different ages, races, everything. So, we knew it was gonna be really, really difficult to find the one girl that could have not only the talent, the dancing and the singing, but also the look.
It was fabulous to do this open casting call, first of all, because all of these kids are just beautiful. And some of them came because they watched Shirley Temple movies and they love Shirley Temple. Some came because their mothers were huge Shirley Temple fans, and of course they wanted their child to play it. But I will say, and I know this was true for all of us involved in this process, that you'd say you're doing Shirley Temple, or we're going to make a movie about Shirley Temple, and they'd say, oh, I know the perfect kid. Everybody had a little Shirley Temple, whether it was a niece, a cousin, a child of their own. I can't tell you how many times I heard, oh, my child looks just like Shirley Temple. Can I bring her in? And anybody was welcome.
If there was one single major surprise for me in this production, it was working with Ashley Rose Orr.
Thank you.
As a 10-year-old, she has so much experience, so much talent in singing, dancing, and acting that I was truly blessed with this child.
I was hoping that they would like me.
Ashley was it. She could even do the thing Shirley did, which Shirley always talks with her lips puckered a little.
I didn't do anything wrong.
And Ashley can do it like that, so it was just amazing. Her body language, she does all the same kind of Shirley stuff.
I actually did practice it at home with my Shirley Temple voice, and I was trying as hard as I could, and then I got it, and I was really happy. I was just like, that's my voice.
The movie Child Star was based on the book Child Star that Shirley Temple Black had written. This was such an enormous advantage because her whole life had been written about, and I was able to use that one source and create, I guess, the parameters for our movie.
Biggest challenge for me is making this story as true to Shirley's life as she believes it is. I have one person that I want to make happy in this movie, and that's Shirley Temple Black.
The scenes that were not in the movie that I wished we could have included were mainly to add more dramatic tension to the story. For example, when Gertrude, George, the father, and the children came out of the cinema in the very beginning, Gorney, the music producer from Fox, tells them to come and see him the following day. Well, what we didn't show in the movie was that Gertrude did go the following day with Shirley, but her name was not at the gate. So they weren't able to actually penetrate the system and go in there and see Gorney. In fact, they didn't see any executives on that first day. Gertrude, with Shirley, kept going there every day for 3 weeks in order to penetrate the system and get in there.
We should all have the tenacity and the perseverance and that, you know, the protectiveness. You know, she was like sort of that mother hen protecting her child. And finding the right person, Shirley had very strong opinions about who she wanted to play her mother, and she wanted somebody who had that softness and who had a vulnerability and yet was a protector and was tough.
Connie Britton was the last person to cast from America.
You're going to have 56 pin curls and 1 spit curl.
Because she has those qualities that really depict Gertrude, the softness, the wonderful mother that she was, and at the same time, the really strong businesswoman who could handle the tough meetings that she had to find herself in, dealing with the studios and the moguls. And Connie was able to do all of that.
I finally got my hands on the Shirley Temple Black's autobiography, which is called Child Star. And I opened it up, in the first page, she dedicates to her mother, to Gertrude, and that really made a strong impact on me in terms of just how important this woman was in her life.
Hinton Battle playing the role of Bill Robinson was almost a given because he is a wonderful performer and tap dancer, a multi-Tony winner from Broadway.
When they first approached me about Child Star, I thought, Bilbo Jingles Robinson, incredible life, incredible story. I was very nervous about it, very apprehensive, because I didn't want to do a bad portrayal of such a legend.
Shirley Temple, Mrs. Temple, meet Bojangles.
It's lovely to meet you.
Pleasure. And an honor to make your acquaintance, Miss Temple.
When you think about Bill Robinson, there are only a couple of male dancers, actors that could actually fit this part.
I did a lot of research. I read a lot of books. I got a lot of documentaries on him. And the man was an incredible, not only was he an incredible talent, but as a human being, his humanity was unbelievable. I mean, he would see people on the street starving, with no food, no home, would pay for their rent, put them back in their homes, put their furniture back in their homes, and feed them.
Can I call you Uncle Billy?
Well, sure you can. Then I get to call you darling.
My favorite part is, like, just doing the whole acting and the singing and just being there with Hinton Battle, who is so great. He's such a great dancer. Actually, we just did the Little Colonel scene, going up and down the stairs, and he was so fabulous.
Well, the steps we did in The Little Colonel were not exactly like the original because we didn't have the rights to the actual choreography, but I did have the rights to the style, which made it sort of difficult because when you're recreating something that people are very familiar with and you change it too much, people go, that's not what they did, and they'd sort of disregard anything you've done. So it's hard to sort of walk that fine line of creating the styles but not recreating the steps. When I choreographed Child Star, it would look like this. Now, Bojangles would have done it like this. The scene in The Little Colonel was exhausting because I'm old. No, I'm just kidding. It was a hard number to do. It's a very hard number to do. In fact, Nadia insisted on doing the entire number without any cuts.
I want to do that too.
So every time we shot it, there's no stops from the beginning of the number till when Ashley and I go up and down the steps. And I have to say I pooped out first. And we shot it about 4 times. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4. We didn't stop.
we were cracking up when, just in rehearsal, don't worry. I was trying to be like him, and I'm going, well, darling. And I was being Mr. Jingles, and he was just going, it was funny.
I watched Shirley Temple as a child. Who didn't? One of the greatest joys in doing this film was being able to somehow transmit that love that we each had for her in a way that will live on.
There are numerous generations that we're talking about when we talk about all the people who love and are inspired and are entertained by Shirley Temple or the child star, or the child, as Shirley Temple Black refers to her as, the child.
He is saying that you make people happy. All over America, all over the world, anywhere people have a few pennies to buy a movie ticket.
Do I make you happy?
Every single day.
Although Shirley Temple retired from film work many years ago, the passion, spirit, and humanity that drove Shirley Temple the child continue. Through her life, she has served her country and many presidents, with ambassadorships to Ghana and Czechoslovakia. Today, Mrs. Shirley Temple Black is a grandmother whose smile and integrity continue to grace, support, and encourage people all over the world.